Welcome back, baseball fans. This is the Fall League. It's 1977, 78, 79, 80. This is the first round draft results. 32 players selected. Let's just go right into it with an explanation when available. With the first pick of the draft, the Chicago Cubs took the 1979 Dave Kingman card, and his 48 home runs is just too much to overlook for the first overall pick. The most homers since George Foster at 52 and 77. Second pick belonged to the Toronto Blue Jays, and they take 1980 Dave Stieb, arguably the second best pitcher and not named Roy Halladay in the Blue Jays franchise. He would anchor that staff for all the 80s and the early 90s. Dave Stieb goes to Toronto. Third pick, Florida takes a young rookie card of Pedro Guerrero. Only 199 plate appearances. Can play second, third, the outfield, first base. Not particularly well anywhere, but at least he trots out to that position with a glove. Probably should put a helmet on as well, so as not to hurt himself. Hit .322. And the Marlins will put him anywhere they need. It doesn't really matter. Somewhere on the diamond. The good news on this one is that's a player that the Dodgers had. They don't anymore. Fourth pick in the draft. And it's nice to see Toronto and Seattle get their ace, Floyd Bannister. He's 25 years old. They waited, so did Steve for that matter, for the best of the years. I think Bannister had 3 years under his belt before he delivered the goods. Steve did it in the second year. In any event, Bannister is now going to anchor that Seattle pitching staff. Congratulations, Seattle, for landing Floyd Bannister. Next up, the fifth pick in the draft. Portland takes Jerry Royce. First big year in LA at age 31. 2.51 ERA. Outstanding year. 18-game winner. And also, no longer on the Dodgers. And suddenly, with Portland having an ace, a legit ace, along with Blyleven in that division, I don't know if they have Blyleven. I think Blyleven might still be a Twin. In any event, this expansion division is always up for grabs, and now Portland is bringing an ace to the competition. With the sixth pick in the draft, and you'll see the first time you see two guys here, and I'll explain. The Twins had lean keepers, meaning that the guys who were kept to move forward really weren't that great. So they also went rookie, and they took 1980 Doug Corbett with a .98 ERA as a closer and 136 innings. And the reason we have a second move here is that they elected to go with their other 1980 player. Remember, you get two guys from each year. And this light color green shows it's a carry-on player that they are improving. And it was the 1978 version of John Henry Johnson they improved to this version, the 1980 version of John Henry Johnson at age 23. He has a 2.33 ERA. He was an additional player card because he only pitched 38 innings. But they made the improvement. And now the Twins have a lefty-righty punch in that bullpen, and they argue one of the best pitching staffs in the American League. And you're probably going to ask, well, why did the Twins get two picks? They really didn't. That's Corbett's their pick. I just decided that they have the rights and own John Henry Johnson, so technically this wouldn't be announced till the fifth round. But it's easier for me, for accounting purposes, to pull the cards out when I can for future rounds, and so I did that there. I'll do it a few more times as we move forward. Alright, seventh pick, not very sexy, somewhat disappointing. The Giants, who have like 10,000 relief pitchers on their team, took another one. Al Holland, probably the best of the left-handed versions of their relievers. The .75 ERA lured him to them. So good luck, San Francisco, trying to win games with a great bullpen. Not crazy about the move, but there was nothing better. Milwaukee, oh boy, the time is coming. The time is here. The time is now. with their first pick, 8th overall, they keep and improve Sixto Lezcano, his big year in 79, 321, 28 home runs. And while they're at it, they exercise the option on their other 79 card. Gorman Thomas, he only had 45 home runs. Thomas will end up being their 6th round pick, but that gets announced now. Pulled both cards out at the same time. And when I say pull cards out at the same time, this means that, sorry Milwaukee, if you find somebody better in 1979, too late. You already said you wanted Gorman Thomas, so you're not going to be able to switch that up. And they most likely won't. Vegas, very rare for an expansion team like this to have a Hall of Famer. So they kept and improved Dave Winfield, Hall of Famer. Interestingly, though, we know he was Padres, Yankees. He also was Twins, also Blue Jays. When you move around a lot, that makes you a good candidate for an expansion team. So congratulations, Las Vegas, for sewing up Winfield for the next 3 years. All right, the California Angels also got 2 guys. They used a draft token to get the rights to Bobby Grich from the Orioles, and that does not disappoint as they used the 79 Grich with his 30 home runs and 294 batting average. 30 home runs out of a second baseman. Oh, by the way, they also acquired Dan Ford in a move from the Twins, and he will be their 6th round pick. So California is looking to be the team moving up in the American League West, as the Oakland A's are allegedly rebuilding. All right, the next move, the 11th pick is the Colorado Rockies. This is going to turn some eyes a little bit. But when you look a little deeper into the stats and a little backstory, first of all, the backstory, when I originally did a Carryover League, or started to introduce a mixed league that wasn't quite set up as the 4-year carryover, just kind of a mixed card, and I created the Colorado Rocky idea. Believe it or not, Frank Pastore was one of the first. He was on that pitching staff and was the best pitcher on that staff. Well, it's been a long 15 years, and we're finally back to the 1980 card set, and Pastore was available again, so I brought him back again. 3.27 ERA. What you're not seeing here, I'll scroll over a little bit, is that he's got a 1.099 whip. So Pastore, this is a very underrated card. The 1980 Frank Pastore card. He'll anchor the Rockies, who already have plenty of offense. The Expos, they elected to not add a player, instead simply improve the Andre Dawson card they had. So they went into the first round with 12 players. They still have 12 players. It's just that Andre Dawson now goes from being a 3 in center field to a 1 in center field, who now hits 300 with 17 home runs and a bazillion stolen bases, and it's 308. Congratulations, the Expos. I like the move. You get 4 years out of this Dawson card instead of hanging with that 77 card. You just got to hope that there's some guys at the end of the draft to fill the empty roster spot. All right, we cried about the Dodgers losing guys. Doesn't really matter. They're going to bring 35-year-old Don Sutton. Oh, by the way, Don Sutton with a 2.20 ERA, and let's take a look at the whip, folks. .989. Where did this year come from? But Don Sutton at the top of his craft in 1980. 13th pick overall. Ohio players, good to see these 2 pitchers back-to-back. They keep Mike Norris. Oh, my goodness, what a tragic story here. 25-year-old Mike Norris. Billy Martin had this guy pitch too many innings. This is complete games, 24 of them. 2.53 ERA, and he's devastating. A devastating curveball that buckled left-handed hitters. A 1.048 whip. 14th overall pick, and the Ohio players, this is their era. With Mike Norris anchoring the staff, this is a chance for this team to legitimately win that division. Not to mention they're going to get Vita Blue a little bit later in this draft. All right, the Tigers, the first team overall to take a player from 1977. So they're looking old for older guys, veteran players, instead of younger guys. They decide to keep Ron LaFleur and his .325 batting average, and This is kind of a sentimental pick. They're bringing Mark Fidrich back. He only pitched 81 innings, but he can play the full season with a 2.89 ERA. One more final year for Fidrich. It didn't work out really well last year for him. Hopefully it works out in his final year of 77. All right, 16th overall, we got the Mets. And the Mets are the first team to throw a minor curveball into things. We knew they acquired Pete Rose, the rights to Pete Rose in a deal with the Reds. They were expecting to use his 77 card. They elected to go with the 78 card, which is actually a little worse, but not too much. His OPS goes under 800 to 783, but he can play a little bit of first base in 78, and in 77 they want to go with the 320 hitting McCarver and Jerry Koosman, and Ray Knight will move over to third base by 1979 for the Mets. So Charlie Hustle, now it's official. Electoral College has spoken. Charlie Hustle is a New York Met to the chagrin of the Reds and the Phillies. How about that, folks? The first major curveball in the Carryover League. All right, 17th overall, the White Sox get, just like we saw Floyd Bannister and Britt Burns go to their teams. Floyd Bannister and Dave Stieb go to their teams. Britt Burns, best remembered for pitching 10 innings of the 1983 American League Championship Series, giving up a walk-off homer to Tito Landrum, but that's beside the point. He'll become the White Sox ace for the early 80s, and at the same time, they are also getting a second lefty, Andy Hassler, for their bullpen. All right, 18th overall pick, and it's the Cardinals with Keith Hernandez, best year. 344 Gold Glove, I believe. First baseman, 11 homers and 105 RBIs, 48 doubles, 11 triples. Keith Hernandez, best year ever. Congratulations, St. Louis. With the 19th pick in the draft, the Orioles, no shock here. They keep Jim Palmer. 291 ERA is a little on the high side for him, but he wins 20 games as usual. He's only 31. 20th overall, Atlanta did not have very good keepers. They decided to go with a young kid. His name's Dale Murphy. This is not his rookie year. He had kicked around in 77, 8, 9, couldn't find a position. They tried him at catcher, first base. By 1980, they said, you go to center field with that cannon arm. He hits 33 home runs and 281. Congratulations, Atlanta. You have your MVP of the future, Dale Murphy. So good to see these guys going back to back to back to back. The New York Yankees with a 21st overall pick. Reggie Martinez Jackson is finally and officially a Yankee after leaving Oakland, not going to Baltimore, and they skipped his 77 and 78 years. Years he would put rings on his fingers, because his 80 year they believe is better, because he hits 300 with 41 home runs, and they're hoping that makes that Yankee dynasty even better in 77, 78. We'll see. All right, Texas. This is not a sexy pick, but Matlack, John Matlack, they gave up a token to the Mets to get him, and he gets it figured out after stumbling with the Mets for a few years to the tune of a 2.27 ERA and a whip of a $1.12. And he will be the new ace in Texas, along with Fergie Jenkins and Steve Comer. 78, Texas, John Matlack. The Houston Astros. They could have gone Cedeno or Dave Collins here, but they could not turn down Junior Richards' last tragic year. Talking about a lot of tragedy in this draft, aren't we? The last tragic year, J.R. Richard suffers a stroke in July of that year, and his career is over. But he has a 1.9 ERA and the whip of .924. And they get him for a full season, though he can only pitch on 4 days rest, not 3 days rest. Okay, the Pirates. This is not that sexy, but Al Oliver, instead of trading him to Texas, he did play for Texas in 1978. Pittsburgh decides they want to keep him one more year. mostly because they're concerned with what the Reds are doing, what the Cardinals and Pirates are doing. They need to hold on to Oliver. They cannot afford to trade him at this point. By the way, he's a good defensive left fielder, and he can still play center. Oh, by the way, it's 324. Maybe the Pirates should never have made this trade. Who knows? 25th overall, Cleveland. Somewhat surprising until you dig a little bit deeper into the stats. The very young Ron Hassey, his best year, 1980. He hits .318 with a .390 on base percentage for a left-handed hitting catcher who could play every day with an .836 OPS. Can't throw very well. Cleveland could care less. They got a stud catcher. With the 26th overall pick, the Arizona Diamondbacks say we want 25-game winner Steve Stone at age 32. Buyer beware, though. He did have a .323 ERA, and he did have a WHIP of 1.297. So, it's a glossy, shiny, sparkly pick, but he's probably a 15-game winner, arguably. Anyway, they were attracted by the 25 wins. So, good luck, Arizona. Seeing if you can recreate what Baltimore did. Moving on to 27. Oakland A's. What better way of rebuilding their team than 21-year-old Ricky Henderson, second year, not his rookie year. He hit .303. He's not quite a 1 in center field. He's a 2 in center and left. Is that stolen bases? I don't know. One of these columns is stolen bases. 53. Maybe it's 117 or 100. I don't know. Something like that. You get the idea. Anyway, yeah, Ricky Henderson. We moved to the Ricky Henderson era in Oakland. I have no idea who they had at left field, but he can go away because it's going to be Henderson moving forward. The Big Red Machine. And here we are into the transition. They suffered heartbreak in the Summer League. They got swept by the Orioles in the World Series. And it was starting pitching of the Orioles, Cuellar, Palmer, McNally. And then last postseason in the Fall League, as the number 1 seed, they got knocked out by the Padres and Randy Jones. And the Reds have said, you know what? We don't need all that stinking offense anymore. We're trading for Tom Seaver, and we're going to get this young Mario Soto as a rookie, 23-year-old. And it's going to be Seaver Soto, Seaver Soto, Seaver Soto for the next 8 years. They're hanging their hats on their pitching moving forward. They're still going to have plenty of hitting, but they cannot afford to fail in the postseason again. And they're hoping that Tom Seaver and Mario Soto are the difference for the Reds moving forward. Okay, we are down to the final 4 teams. And the surprising Padres are going to make more surprising moves. And the player with the 29th overall pick, 1980, Broderick Perkins. Who? Oh, Broderick Perkins. In 111 plate appearances? That is not a misprint. Yes, it doesn't have enough decimal points, but that batting average is .370. .370 batting average for Broderick Perkins. They could not turn that down. And oh, by the way, they also get Manny Trio with their 5th round pick, exercising both 1980 cards. And Trio is the one at second. So the Padres have visions of returning to the League Championship Series. Good luck, Dodgers, Astros, and as far as the San Francisco Giants go, it's welcome to the basement. Okay. The Kansas City Royals, the new bad boys of the American League. Remember that decimal point thing with Perkins? That, of course, is not a misprint either. Don't have the extra decimal point there. That's a .390 batting average. For George Brett's 1980 card, they get to run this card 4 years. They expect at least 2 world championships in that time. Do the Royals. They're the new bad boys of the American League. We're down to the last 2 picks. The last 2 picks, the runners-up in the World Series, the Philadelphia Phillies. They fell short in the World Series when Steve Carlton, Game 7 starter, broke in the 8th inning in Fenway Park, and the Red Sox took the lead. They don't care. They're bringing Carlton back with arguably his second best year after 72, the 234 ERA of 1980. And oh, by the way, they also made a deal to land Tug McGraw. Carlton McGraw, they're hoping this is the elixir to put them at the top of the National League. Kansas City and Philadelphia are trying to get to the World Series before 1980. And last, and not least, your world champion Boston Red Sox. Of course, if you're trying to defend your title, you need to bring back the best pitcher you have, and that is Louis Tiant. In 78, he can still pitch, folks. 3.31 ERA. It's not going to go crazy. .14 whip. Good enough for Fenway Park. And that concludes the first round of the 77, 78, 79, 80 draft. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. We'll see you again soon.